Sarip Tambak is very popular name for people in East Java. His real name is only Sarip. He lived in a hamlet called Tambak Desa Gedangan in East Sidoarjo Regency. Sarip Tambak is also popular as one of the story plays in the art of Ludruk, the original arts of East Java. The story about the heroic figure of Sarip is told from generation to generation. Sarip lives a simple life with her mother. Her father has long since died when Sarip was a child. When his father was still alive, he had a sufficient life because his father had a large enough pawn business. But unfortunately, when his father died, the pawn was taken by a greedy Uncle Sarip. Not the slightest profit from the result of the pawn was given to Sarip family. Sarip is known as a young man who is easily angry and likes to fight, but actually Sarip has a kind heart. He even feels that he doesn't have the heart to see the suffering of his poor and taxed villagers from the Dutch. A herd of the village head of Gedangan with two Dutch soldiers come to Sarip's house. Unfortunately, at the time Sarip was not at home, so only Sarip found him. The intention of the head of the village was to ask for tax on the pawn business owned by her late husband. Because Sarip's mother didn't want to pay the village head of Gedangan and the Dutch army went berserk and damaged the furniture, Sarip's mother also called Sarip who was outside. Sarip who, as if he heard her mother's call, immediately returned home. How angry he was that Sarip saw the village head of Gedangan and the Dutch army destroying his house. Without saying much, Sarip immediately beat the village head of Gedangan to death. One of the Dutch soldiers also beat him to death. Another Dutch soldier managed to escape. After the murder of the Gedangan village head, Sarip was also fugitive from the Dutch colonial government for a few days. Later, Sarip went to his uncle's house. Sarip intends to take over her father's farms. Finally, a fight broke out between Sarip and his uncle. The fight was won by Sarip. His uncle immediately fled before being killed by Sarip. The fight was won by Sarip. His uncle immediately fled before being killed by Sarip. Uncle Sarip himself to the Kulan Kali Sedati area where Uncle Sarip met a warrior named Paidi. Because he came from Kulan Kali, the warrior was known by the nickname by Paidi Kulan Kali. Paidi immediately looked for Sarip and fought with him. Working as a wagon coach, the fights were won by Paidi. Sarip died and the hands of Paidi and his body was dumped in the Stati River. Meanwhile, the Sarip mother was washing clothes and actually did a very miraculous things. During his hiding, Sarip also often robbed the house of Dutch people and rich Dutch henchmen. There have been Dutch people who have become victims of Sarip robbery. Although he likes to rob Naum's safe, he does not enjoy the process of his robbery. Every time he finishes robbing the Sarip, he distributes the property to the poor in the village. The Dutch government didn't remain silent. They hired many warriors to catch Sarip, but not one of them managed to catch the Sarip. Even many of the warriors were killed by the Sarip. Sarip also met Paidi to take her revenge. This time, Sarip managed to kill Paidi. Finally, the Dutch found out about the weakness of Sarip from her uncle, who had been her uncle's Dutch henchman, who was still in college with Sarip's father. Sarip knew that Sarip's father had meditated and brought home a lump of red soil. The land is divided in half and eaten by the Sarip and her mother. After eating the red soil, Sarip can come back to life even though he was killed many times as long as his mother was still alive. After knowing the secret, the Dutch immediately caught the Sarip mother and shot her. After her mother died, Sarip could finally be caught by the Dutch. To make sure the Sarip was correct, let the Dutch government put the Sarip into the sumur and bury her, and finally the Sarip also found really died without coming back.